I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Bellroy Lite Totepack, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. Overall, this is a very feature simple pack. So it is similar to like the Laneway and the Tokyo tote packs that they already have as like other options that you can get, but this one is designed to be very like pared down. So very going like for that light name in the like their light line. It just has minimal features, lighter weight materials. This material here is a Duralite nylon. So bringing it up a little bit closer, you can see that sort of like grid pattern. There's also a Duralite ripstop version that has like a more very like obvious ripstop pattern on it, like visually. With this, the material did get like scuffed up a little bit. This is more like dirt than anything, but if I just take a little bit of water to this, it comes off really easily. So the material is pretty easy to clean. It feels very durable and sturdy, very like Bellroy just makes quality items. Everything is stitched in pretty well. So I don't have any concerns about like durability on that end. It's more of just like how everything kind of functions together. Because this material is so lightweight, it can look pretty lumpy. So I have this packed out with honestly like pretty much everything I carried on a regular basis. I did add a few more items here and there, which I'll talk about what happened when I did that. But you can see like it's just a little bit like saggy on one side here and then not so much on the other. So it can, depending on what you have in here, it can impact the look. The tote does stand up on its own, is definitely a plus there if that's something that interests you. Just depending on what you have on the inside. Obviously, if it's like not very full, it can start to tip forward, but I have this thing, like I mentioned, full down at the bottom and it's standing up pretty well on its own. We also, in terms of actual like hardware, we have YKK zippers and they have a little paracord zipper pull with some like heat shrink on the end there for easy gripability. So that was really nice. The zippers were easy enough to open. We have reverse coil, YKK like aqua guard on both compartments here. But the front one I kind of had beef with, which I'll talk about in a second. But otherwise, it's just very simple like branding here. Nothing too crazy going on the outside. Just looks like a very simple, basic tote, just similar styles to two other totes that they already have out. There are two different options for how to carry this bag. So we have the regular tote style, which these are just like two nylon straps. There's no padding or anything. They're a little bit scratchy, like it's not quite that seatbelt material. You know how seatbelt material is like very slick? This is not quite that. It's a little bit rougher, but that's like not a big deal in my opinion. I didn't have any issues with discomfort, especially when this was full on a bare shoulder or something. I would say maybe like a t-shirt would be more comfortable in general, but I didn't really feel like I was missing padding here, just based off of how big this bag is. The other way that you can carry it is with the backpack straps. So these are pretty free moving on the back here, so it's pretty flexible once you actually get it on. And the padding here, didn't really feel like I needed anything more. It was pretty substantial. It's just like some light foam that's pretty squishy. But once you actually get the bag on, I'll show it on in a second, you can pretty much easily adjust this to be whatever it wants or whatever you need. We do have kind of self-managing like strap keepers here, which when I tightened it too much looked a little bit weird, which is something we run into a lot with the ones that are attached like this. So can't really fault this bag in particular. It's just not a style I like. But there's no like padding or anything on the back panel here. Again, based off of like all of the ways you can carry this thing, based off how big this tote actually is, I didn't really feel like it was lacking. This is a tote when it's in backpack mode. So you can see here with that self-managing strap keeper, it just sort of creates like a loop. So I can't actually push it down any further than it currently is, meaning that if I wanted to tighten this a little bit more, it would just make that loop a little bit bigger. I would say like if you got to about here is where it would hang without any of that leak popping up, but that just feels a little bit too low for me. So what I did is I just brought it a full bit. I would say I have a 16-inch torso or 16.5-inch torso. This was very comfortable for me. I would say in general, when it hung lower, it felt a little bit more balanced versus like pulling it super tight. So I didn't really mind too much that there was a little bit of extra material there, extra straps. So it feels very comfortable on. And then if you wanted to, you can just put that down and switch over to the
tote straps. So that just kind of hangs out. Obviously, I would put these backpack straps away. But even if you just switched over quickly, they're not like imposing or anything like that. And this stays pretty easily on my shoulder. It's not about to like slip off or anything. So pretty comfortable. And then I'm also 5'6", and it hangs down next to me while I'm just carrying the tote straps without it dangling and touching the ground. But if you're a little bit shorter, you might run into that problem. So like I mentioned, carry is comfortable, even with the strap being pretty basic on the top here with the tote. Carrying this short distances and everything did really go to accommodate. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. So with the secondary compartments that we have on this, the back panel technically, or the pocket where you stow the backpack straps, technically could act as a pocket for something small like that you want to keep really secure, like a passport. So there's no closure at the top, but it goes all the way down here. And if something's flat enough, you wouldn't really feel it against your back or anything. So that adds a little bit of security if that's something that you're looking for. Otherwise, the backpack straps just fit in there very smooth. I mean, I showed you that earlier, but that just kind of stays tucked out of the way. I don't really even consider that like a usable pocket. What I do use are the pockets on the front. So this is that YKK zipper that I was talking about earlier. Could be pretty difficult to open when I'm pulling it open. It also very naturally, like once it kind of gives me some resistance, I just sort of stop pulling. But then if you look here, there's a decent amount of track still left. So I almost have to like force it all the way to the end. And the reason that is because when I actually go to stick my hand in here, it feels pretty limiting. So I need as much space as I can possibly guess. You can see this like gusseted pocket design actually allows you to load the front of this, like these front pockets out with more gear. And the more gear you add in, the wider this is going to look. So like, let's say I added additional items here. This is like my hand kind of pushing it out. You can see that it just kind of rounds out the look of that. The issue is that I think that I just didn't have enough, like, I don't know, enough space to like pull this out to fully get to everything that I wanted inside this pocket. Because I basically found that whatever I put in here was just hard to access when I actually wanted it. So I've got a Kindle on this side. So that comes out nice and easily. We've got my phone, and then there's also a key leash on this side here, which is just like a little, like a nylon rope paracord type situation. Not like, it's a little bit stretchy, but not overly so. Long enough that I could kind of open up my door, but it wasn't super slick, and it wasn't very easy. So I did have to take my keys off like a decent amount when I was using this key leash to open up my door. So that side is just completely empty. On the other side here, and these do both go like all the way down to the bottom of the bag. On the other side here, there's a shallow pocket, which I use for small items. So I have my wallet and headphones in here, and that keeps them from falling all the way down to the bottom. Because like I said, this pocket goes all the way down here. So anything that I put in here would just like kind of get hard to access. And then because it has its own independent volume, sure, but the more stuff I put in the main compartment, the more it kind of bows out into here. And then this pocket has to bow out even more. But because I think of just how like tight this particular opening is, it was just really hard to get to everything. Also, my hands would scrape against the zipper teeth every single time I put my hand in and like brought it out, which I just don't love how that feels. I'm not sure if anybody is like pumped about that, but in general, I was just like kind of underwhelmed, I guess, with this front pocket, and found myself not really even wanting to use it because access was so tedious. I think maybe if the zipper pull wasn't as annoying to open and close, I would like not care as much about the like kind of shallow pocket design or anything like that. But I think just overall the front pocket just wasn't as functional as I would like it to be for a bag that doesn't really have a lot of other organization for smaller items. So we'll look at the main compartment now. So there are two ways technically to open this tote. First we have, or to close it, I guess. First we have the just regular zipper. So it's just that same Aquaguard zipper as the front. Kind of, again, like you kind of have to push it to the very end of the track. Or if you have this tote overloaded, which honestly happened to me more often than not, like if you were to put, let's see if I have anything over here, if you want to put enough gear to like maybe it just like it completely fills this out almost into like a rectangular shape, there were a lot of times where I couldn't actually close this zipper. So they have this little rope here, which is like a little nylon, it's like a little nylon strap, and it hooks into a loop on the other side. And you can use that to cinch the tote down. So I did this a lot when I was carrying the bag, mostly because then I didn't have to open and shut it every time I wanted to reach in and get something. But it did come in handy because there was one point where I packed this out like completely to the brim. Like I had not a single inch of extra space to spare. And I was still able to create like some type of a closure. Not because this is really going to prevent your gear from falling out, right? Like it can still pop out on either side. But, you know, if you have a bag that looks all the way out here and then you try and put it on your backpack, like it could start to sag forward, or your gear could theoretically start to like pop out a little bit. And if you put this on, then it's just going to add a little bit of extra security. So it just like, it cinches it down a little bit, keeps it a little bit more in place. So I like that addition because then, you know, you don't have to fuss with the zipper ever if you don't want to. And then it's really skinny and just stays on the way when you don't need it. As for other organization, this one, unlike the Tokyo tote pack and the, there's like the Tokyo tote pack and then the laneway tote pack, this one doesn't have any organization apart from these side pockets. So in here, I have my laptop and I have a extra layer and a tech pouch, and then I have a water bottle. So after I take all of that out, you can see there is no additional storage here. And with this one here, it is an 18-liter capacity all around. So you can fit a decent amount of gear in here. But there's not, apart from that front pocket, there's really nowhere to put it if it's a bunch of small items. So what I ended up doing is, if like I had a water, let's say I had a water bottle on this side, and there's a little bit of extra room to spare if you wanted even a bigger one. This one I think this is like a 32 ounce one, 26 ounce. So this is a fairly large water bottle. Over here you could do something like an umbrella, or I had one of those like can cooler things with like a pop in it, and then I put like my additional drink in there, and then I, you know, when I got to my destination, I put the extra one in the fridge, and then, you know, it's just kind of that thing, like, just gives you a little bit of organization for other items. But if you don't want to use it, it does tuck pretty nicely out of the way. The main thing that we're missing is any sort of like liner pocket. So the other versions will have like a liner pocket here, or will have a spot to actually put your laptop. So in this case, because I was using this as my daily bag, I used a extra, I used a laptop sleeve, so that when I put it in here, I wasn't worried about any damage, because there's no dedicated sleeve. There's also no false bottom. So whenever you set this down, like your laptop is going to actually hit the ground. There's no padding down here or anything. And a lot of that is because this is designed to be like the lightweight version, right? So minimal materials, not a ton of extra like liner fabric or anything. There's a little bit of like internal padding on this back end to give you some comfort, but it's not like significant padding. It's just to kind of like dampen the feel. It feels like it just dampens the feel of any pokey gear you could potentially have inside the bag. So I would say like this overall, if you're looking for a tote pack that you can use as like your daily commuter bag, or just something to like carry a lot of everyday items, this one seems to me to not quite hit that, only because I can't carry a device, and the lack of storage for small items apart from this front pocket, which can feel a little clunky, just wasn't that great for me. I think that the other designs that they have in the like tote pack style, Bellroy, the pocket design is a little bit different, and to me lends a little bit better to actually storing different types of items if you're going to be carrying this thing every day. So there you have it, the Bellroy Lite Totepack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Accurate, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.